Hi, everybody. I am Joy Victoria Clark, the Associate Director of Partnerships here at Blavity, and I'm excited to welcome you to our Authentic Collaboration webinar. Today, we'll be hearing from a powerhouse of panelists. I would love to introduce you first to our very own Blavity's very own Fabian Rock, the Director of Originals at Blavity Inc. Also want to introduce you to Miles Johnson, the Head of Marketing and Belonging at Google. And last, and especially not least, my name, Joy Ofodu, the Marketing Manager at Instagram. Thank you all for being here. We're super excited to jump into this conversation. Today, we'll be discussing authentic collaboration and talking about how consumers, vendors, job seekers have an abundance of information to choose from and access when it comes to competitors and brands that you are considering. So today's conversation, we'll talk about how to create brand authenticity, connecting through your storytelling. So let's jump right into the conversation. So Miles, I'm going to start with you on our first question. Can you discuss what is brand authenticity?
Yeah, and thank you, Joy, and thank you for hosting this conversation. Super excited to be here and super excited to be discussing this topic. It's something that we think a lot about when it comes to belonging at Google. I think, when it comes to brand authenticity, I think the basic idea is knowing who your brand is and having a clear sense of your purpose, your values, and what you stand for. So understanding what is your role in your users' lives. Where are you credible? Where are you not? Where have people given you permission to play? And where do you need to lean on others? Where do you need to lean on partnerships in order to be able to show up appropriately? I think having that clear sense of what your brand's lane is and what people's expectations of your brand is how you can show up in an authentic way.
Thank you, Miles. I think you're 100% correct. Credibility is number one when it comes to, being authentic and, representing your brand. Joy, can you talk about how is brand authenticity important?
Sure. Hey, everyone. My name is Joy Ofodu. I'm an integrated marketing manager at Instagram, and I'm a creative executive / creator at Joy Ofodu, which is my brand. Those two brands perceive authenticity in very different ways. So I'll speak quickly from Instagram. We've been around for a while. We're really, really excited about helping people feel like the future today is theirs to make. Instagram is a brand that has evolved, that's been a part of Meta, perceived on its own, needed to craft out its own voice. And I think that it's primarily, like Miles said, about focusing on the consumer, on the person that you're listening to. Additionally, though, you can't get lost in the sauce. You know what I'm saying? So if the brand is too focused on catering to or serving a consumer, then, like I said, they'll get lost in the sauce. So as Instagram, we've really tried to hold on to that, stick our foot in the ground, even when it's unpopular, even when the product updates aren't perceived well, we still make them because we believe it's best for the future of the platform. For myself, from a creator's perspective, authenticity to me means bringing my life online. I started publishing dating comedy videos about 2 years ago, and now I reach 1 million people monthly. Over 12 million people have seen my videos that I'm shooting in my bedroom and from my phone. So I endeavor to bring the best of me, to hold my values within my comedy as well, and not make fun of people for things that they cannot change, play with topics I don't play with personally. So that's what authenticity means to me as a creator. And it also means uplifting and serving my core purpose through my work at Instagram as a marketer or through my work as a creator, which is essentially to uplift underrepresented people and flood the industries of animation and entertainment and technology with inclusive voices.
Thank you so much, Joy. And Fab, I'm going to have you answer the same question. I think we will want to get multiple perspectives on why brand authenticity.
Yeah, for sure. So I think in general, if you look at marketing and even from like a sales perspective and advertising, everything has kind of shifted. Like advertising is not how it used to be, and people care where they're spending their money. They care how they're investing their time and their dollars, and they want to know, like who the company is, who works there, what the personality of the company is versus just like the product. So I think that transparency, that vulnerability that some companies will share with the public is kind of like what people want to see. And I have a dog, so forgive me if you hear some snoring. But yeah, so it's just like that transparency is really important for people to invest their hard-earned money and their dollar and their time, and they don't want to do the fake stuff, you know, anymore. So I think that that authenticity is really important for developing a community around your brand beyond just selling a product or, you know, a dream or anything like that.
No, I agree. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that ties in even to our next question about when a brand is being authentic or lacking authenticity. What are some measurements or KPIs that a brand or a creator can see? Miles, I'll hand it over to you and you can kick it over to Joy.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think building on what Fab was saying, when brands are authentic, people feel close to them. So people feel like they understand this brand. They know how the brand is going to show up in different situations because the brand is consistent over time. And as Joy said, is willing to stand up even when it's hard, even when it's when there's a difficult conversation, because they're clear on who they are and what they stand for. And so I think one of the first things that you should look to if you're trying to understand how authentic are people perceiving you to be is how close do they feel to you? Do they feel like you're a brand that actually represents them? Do they feel like you're a brand that they trust? Do they feel like you're a brand that they would advocate for, that they would, you know, be willing to go out on a limb for and say, this is a brand that you should support? And it really comes down to showing up consistently over time, not just in your marketing, but also in your products and also in your workplace around the things that you say that you stand for.
100%. I echo everything that you said. I have back end KPIs for brands and creators, and then I have front end. So I think on the back end for a brand, it starts not after you've launched and you begin measuring, like, was this authentic or was this perceived well? But it begins as you're building the collaboration, right? So to me, from a brand perspective, especially when you're partnering with creators, if it's authentic, do it early and do it year round. The closer you come to said cultural moment or holiday or world event like World Cup, the less authentic the collaboration feels, right? If you really wanted to work with me, you would have approached me in November for February, not in the middle of February. And do it year round. Don't just wait for cultural moments to engage communities. That's something that Instagram has been doing a much better job of over the years and is doing really well right now. We have a scaled culture and community team across Meta. The personal fangirl, like super proud of how they activate. It seems like every week they pump something out. I'm like, dang, I'm not on that team, but just wanted to give them some love. Activate year round. Next is, I would say, as a brand, when working with creators, pay their rates. It's authentic that if you value someone's work and contributions, that you'll pay them what they're worth. If you can't afford it, adjust. And an even better challenge that I would have for brands that are looking to engage with creators is, would you do this for free? Like, if there was no money engaged, how would you partner with this creator? That's when you know it's good. It's like, we love you so much. We don't have a budget, but we're going to figure something out. For creators on the reverse, right? Authentic collaboration to me is like not diving straight into pricing and rates. And I made this mistake before because I'm so business minded and marketing minded. But I realized as I started getting into like entertainment and development, it's about meet me first, then meet my idea, and then meet my rates. Like, let's settle on, do I like you? Do I like the person I'm sitting across from virtually? And then talk about your story, your idea, and your rates. And then I think finally, as a creator, support small businesses. So as a creator, I think we're also people, right? You don't have major brands in every area of your life. You also go to the farmer's market, you go to the festival, the swap meet down the street. You have things that your mom sewed for you or your auntie sent for you from Nigeria across the sea. It's like, support those small businesses too. And I think for both brands and creators, thinking about letting creators author the story will really help. Okay, those are back-end KPIs. I'll give you the front-end one super fast. After you've launched those, right? So you had those lagging. Your leading now is, what's the sentiment? And instead of just having one sole social media manager measure what that sentiment is, engage an agency. Like we've worked with Koros quite a bit to do sentiment measurement of our house ad campaigns, like things that we launch on Instagram from Instagram. When you see those ads, it's me and my team. And we engage Koros. It's like actually measure what people are qualitatively and quantitatively saying. How many positive, negative comments and what are they begging or asking you for? You can also see participation and retention. So I lead growth acquisition from the Instagram side. We're looking at how many users download Instagram as a result of our ads. It's not just about that point of sale or that point of click, but how many people are still users days later, weeks later, months later. That is a good measure of authenticity.
Yes, thank you so much, Joy. You dropped many gems, so I'm going to run them back for our audience. So number one, I think that our brands and our company partners need to hear authenticity is working with creators all year round, right? So if you're coming up to Pride, if you're coming up on Juneteenth, if you're coming, it's too late, right? You need to show up in these spaces from the beginning to really show that you care about the community that you're trying to tap into and work with Black creators or unique creators or, LGBTQIA creators outside of the holiday that celebrates them, right? I think that's number one, one of the gems that you said, Joy. And then also when it comes to KPIs, besides just the likes and the shares, it's the sentiment. It's like, how are people talking about the brand? How are the audience engaging with the market managers or social media managers as well? And then like Joy, another gem that you said that I really want our audience to take in is also looking at the longevity of that relationship. So Joy, thank you so much for those gems. I hope you guys are writing these things down to get them. I will be sharing the playback, so don't worry. Fab, I'm going to hand this question over to you. You already tapped into it and talked about how has branding expectations shifted, rather it's generational, rather it's what's going on culturally or societal. How have you think the expectations have shifted when it comes to branding?
Yeah, that's a great question. While we were just talking, I was thinking of, besides our companies, that respectful companies that we're working for, like I always think of Ben and Jerry's because they're like excellent at doing this. Like they're dropping the gems, they're giving you the information year round. But to answer your question specifically, again, I think it's more consumer focused and like a lot of companies are doing, research based on tight knit, what do they call it? Like help me out here. It's the like the rooms, the focus groups. There we go. Yeah. So Patagonia, yeah, is a great one as well, Erin. And so it's consumer based and it's also like this moment of like, okay, maybe we don't know what they want. And like actually like acknowledging that first and then doing the research or hiring locally, local creators to execute, local agencies to execute. Like it's not like the big name brand stuff all the time anymore. It's really like getting into the people. I hope that answers your question.
No, it did. I think it was spot on, really talking about the shifts are consumer focused, right? I think a lot of it has to do with what we said, the access to information, a lot of competitors in the space. So brands had to dig deep to rise above the noise. So I think that was spot on. Miles, do you have anything to add about, I'm sorry, Fab. Yes, please.
But what I wanted to speak on, what Joy brought in, is the data. Like the details are in the data, and like being able to shift with that data and not like the data is going to change. So it's like maybe one season people are receiving ads in a certain way and then it's falling off. Like you have to be able to shift and be like, okay, well, everyone's on TikTok now, so like let's go over here, or like, whatever the trend is. Unfortunately, like it's a trended, forecasted environment, and like being able to pivot is like super key, I think. Go ahead, Miles.
Absolutely. I think the biggest shift that's occurred, I really do think has to do with access to information, where consumers are just much more knowledgeable, much more aware of what's going on across all aspects of a business than they ever were before, because they have access to that information. And that's a great thing. That's helped, I think, people be a lot more empowered about which brands they want to let into their lives and which ones they don't. But I think what that means is that you have to think holistically across the entire business. And that's one of the things that we've really tried to do with our work around belonging. It's not just a marketing effort. We're actually our aim is to build a world where everyone can belong. And so to do that, we are thinking about what we're putting out into the world, how we can make our marketing more inclusive, how we can make the advertising industry more inclusive. But we're also thinking holistically about where are the places that Google can have the biggest impact. So that means our workforce, our workplace, making sure that we're hiring folks who are representative of our users. It means our products, making sure that we're actually building tools like Realtone that have meaningful impacts in people's lives, that help them feel seen. And it means our work out in society. There are lots of places where Google has an outsized voice, whether that's in the economic opportunity space with digital skills, or in the education space, where we can actually help shape the conversation, help shape the industry around us. And so we're still super early on this journey, but I think taking that holistic view is what is really important and what consumers are really demanding, because they'll see through if you're just pandering or trying to tell them what they want to hear.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that, Miles. I think, like you said, that holistic view is going to help gather and figure out how to show up authentically. Joy, I would love to ask you, as we shift this around the same question, how can brands shift? Like if there's brands out there that are missing the mark, that are talking about Juneteenth and in ways that is not educational, or ways that is just about profiting, or, how can brands shift? Let's get them together. How can we help them help themselves?
So many crazy things just popped into my mind. So many gaps, so many tubs of ice cream.
So many
Listen,
tubs
I
of
think
ice cream, the
the
watermelon.
come on, the first and the safest thing that you can do as a brand, I don't care which interest community, cultural community, identity you're engaging with, is research, right? Heavy research first. If you are for us, we're coming from a platform perspective. So I think what's great about working at Instagram, we learn so much every day from the community that uses Instagram. And then we just get to reach out, tap on their shoulder, and partner, right? So there is a luxury there. If you're looking from the outside in, though, there are agencies, creator agencies, influencer marketing, or again, you can actually use hashtags. Fab talked about hiring local as a shift. We need to embark on a shift as marketers, as culture makers and effectors, of using the tools at our disposal, diving onto these platforms, figuring out who already celebrates this, who's already a member of this community. You don't need to create the campaign yourself anymore. You can reach out to them, say you have an opportunity and a budget, sit back and let them work. As a creator, that's what I've done for a bunch of different brands. Netflix hit me up. Netflix is a joke, and Adult Swim this year at the top of the year, which totally knocked off vision board items and just said, hey, Black History Month, and they kept it super open. So I was able to craft things for them. Same thing with Anima Iris. The founder, Wooglery, was recently featured on CNBC. Beyonce wore her bag. Y'all know the Anima Iris purses. Come on, Irises. And it's a beautiful Black-owned handbag, startup that is now featured in Saks. She hit me up. We had a certain budget and a conversation. And I, as the creator, authored a multi-month, multi-deliverable partnership. She didn't need to have the idea or even a creative brief. You just need to start with a discussion. So as a brand, that's my key and my tip, is just gently reach out, ask creatives to leverage. It can be audio that they already have or something that they've already delivered. As Instagram, we knew that we wanted to speak to teens around graduation and about stepping into being a creator, because a couple of teens have indicated that creators, like, their most popular desired job. I don't know if y'all know this, but they've gone from like, I want to be a firefighter, I want to be an engineer, to like, I want to be an influencer, I want to be a creator. So we reached out to Neil Gaiman, who's an author. He gave a really amazing speech about making good art, and we leveraged a past speech with new assets in UGC to create this graduation video that just dropped. So again, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to be an expert on the culture. You just need budget. If you don't have budget, give them a platform, give them space, give them time, reach out and let creators create.
Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna hand it over to Fab.
Yeah, I also would love to add on top of that, that acknowledging that a lot of us have not been able to access this space and being a little bit more patient with those creators, because like maybe they don't know how to put a pitch deck together or a one sheet, but their idea is solid and it can be, you know, work with them. Like having that patience or having the time, and if you don't have the time, like make it an initiative. Like we shouldn't be writing off locals in our community just because like, oh, well, they didn't have their, you know, their things together. It's like, well, this is a new space for a lot of people because this space has been gate kept for so long. So I think that it's important to note that like giving people, some people just need the platform and just need the time and maybe even just the coaching. And I'm not saying that we should be like hand holding everyone, but I think like recognizing when people have really good talent or ideas and giving them the resources will be a great ROI, honestly. And that's authentic as hell.
I mean, I would just add to that. I think what's really exciting about handing over the keys to creators is that's where the next wave of innovation is going to come from. Like if you think about where the ideas that haven't been seen before, that haven't gotten the airtime that they deserve, they're not going to come from the same rooms, the same spaces, the same people that have been, you know, in positions of power for however many years up until now. And I think, you know, most brands are not representative of the world in terms of what the workforce looks like. So I think having that humility and saying, you know, there are endless good ideas out there. If we're trying to reach communities that we haven't reached before in ways that we haven't reached them before, we need to be willing to take a back seat, take some risks, because there's, you know, that's where the exciting new ideas are going to come from. So just a huge +1 to everything that was said.
Yes, absolutely. I have to give everybody snaps for that because those are keys. Hopefully you guys caught them. So number one, you do not have to recreate the wheel. Search out people, collaborators, other brands who are already doing the work. Two, like we said, also, if you're working with the creator, be patient. Some of these creators were never in these rooms before. So like Fab said, they might not have the pitch deck. They might not have the one pager. Work with them because these are new opportunities that, okay, it might take them a day or two to get you a one page or, you know, get you the metrics after the campaign is closed. So once you opening up those doors, it's not just letting people in, but like you said, belonging, making them feel that they belong there too, though there may be a learning curve. Don't assume, because it might not be, but just making sure that, you know, we are patient with that. So yeah, I think that you guys hit it on the head. Thank you so much. Those are great keys. My next question that I want to ask, how can companies, I think we sort of tapped into this, how can they build consistency? So I know we already talked about doing it, you know, year round. What are other ways that brands can be consistent about it? Miles, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, you know, I think we've talked about some of this, taking a holistic approach, looking across the whole business. But I think one of the biggest tests is always when things are tricky, when it's a tough conversation, when it's not, you know, Black History Month and it's celebratory, but, you know, you can take what the events of this past week, where it's a space where, you know, many brands would rather not say anything. What do you do? Are you willing to take a stand? Are you willing to take some heat? Are you comfortable acknowledging that speaking up in this moment, standing in my values, is going to push some people away? That I'm going to alienate some customers, I'm going to make some policymakers angry. If you're willing to do that, I think that goes a long, long way. And those small moments carry outsized weight in consumers' minds. Those are the things that people remember. And I think that's why brands like Ben & Jerry's, who consistently are willing to take a stand, and brands like Patagonia, that was another one that was mentioned, we're consistently willing to take a stand. I think the really interesting thing about Patagonia is you would assume, you know, based on the stands that they've taken, that they would do really well with folks on the left, and they do. But what's interesting is that they are also really admired and respected by folks on the right. So I think that goes to show that even if consumers may not agree with every position that you take, if they're clear on what you stand for and when you'll stand up, then that allows them to assess what kind of relationship that they want to have with you. And I think people really respect that.
Plus 100 to that spirit of like not being afraid to alienate people. I think this week with the overturning of Roe versus Wade, we've seen artists, musician, Pink be like, if it's not this, F you and don't listen to my music. And guess what? People came after her. She said, I am my own manager. I'll be fine. Like we're good over here. I loved that spirit. Brands can do that too. And it is scary, but I think it's necessary. Teens are really looking for that also. So if you're looking to appeal to like Gen Z consumers, it's something that they've consciously stated that they want in brands is to take a stand on social issues, to be consistent. I say invest upfront. So a lot of social media managers are failing. A lot of marketers are failing, not in the individual execution. You can get the money for that one conference, for that one event, to host this one webinar. But if you don't have a plan behind it, it's so much easier to dismiss it and shut down the program, right? If you launch with a singular, it's a tent pole, but there's no strategy to continue it into the year, then it's hard. I say, especially in this economy, if you're inside an organization, you want to affect culture and you want to invest in culture, get that investment up front, make it multifaceted, multi-tiered, make it ongoing, scalable, replicable. In Instagram and inside Meta, we just say scale, scale, scale. Sometimes, and this was like at least a year and a half ago, if I couldn't prove how a program would scale, it could not get through the door. So the days of one-offs, I think, are over. Consistency is achieved through repetition, especially brand repetition. You want to hit messages 5 to 7 times. So for every new message that you propose, come up with 5 to 7 different activations. They don't all have to be commercials. They don't have to be creator UGC. One could be a podcast moment. The next one could be in real life. The next could be charitable. The next could be a conference. Just vary it up, but at least hit 5 to 7 times and see if you can get that investment ahead of time with your partners. One example, I think, is like Vocal Booth to Go. I'm a voice actor, so don't know if you could tell, but I'm a voice actor. I really, really needed a quiet space to record. So you want to talk about authentic collaboration? My family was driving me crazy. I was driving them crazy. Vocal Booth to Go opened up and they said, all right, we're going to give you multiple slots throughout the year to continue to promote your voices and the space and the equipment. That was such a blessing. And now for them, I get to hit my audience multiple times rather than just saying, here's a new thing that happened in my life. I got a booth and be done with it. So get the investment up front.
Yep. Thank you so much. That was key. Fab, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm not even going to reiterate anything. Y'all nailed it.
No worries. I have another question for you. I know we already talked about, some of the ways to collaborate with collaborators. What about co-branded partnerships with other businesses? Can you talk about some of the benefits of that?
Yeah, I love that space, honestly. Like, brand partnerships can be very authentic. And I will say that when it's not, it's so obvious. Like, what? I saw a commercial the other day. I won't even talk about it, but I was like, what's happening here? But when it's right, it's right. Like, like when like car commercials come and they're looking at like Black surfers and they're just like, it turns into this like docu-series and it's like 3-part, like things like that are so special because, most of the time, most people won't find out about some of these initiatives or these communities. But when agencies or creators take the time to like kind of connect the dots there, it can be such a beautiful thing. But it goes back to authenticity. Like, if the focus is holistic, you cannot partner with a company that doesn't align in those values and stuff like that. And you kind of also, and that's when it gets tricky because it's like they're going to dangle the money in front of you and it's like, oh, it's going to be a nice bag, but you have to like, kind of stand in your integrity in business and be like, this just isn't right. Because when people have done it, it becomes very obvious. And then the backlash is even worse. And there are some brands that are like, all press is great press, but, I personally don't believe in that. And I wouldn't want to be part of something like that. So I do think it is important to kind of vet it out or wait for the right partnership, or, you know, fight for the right partnership. I think that all of those things are important when doing those brand partnerships.
Yeah, and Joy, I want to see if you have anything to add, you know, about the benefits of, you know, co-branding with other companies. Some that might even think that you guys are occupying the same space, or you may be a quote unquote competitor. How can brands, you know, co-brand with other companies who might be doing it right, but they are also, you know, talking maybe to the same audience?
Absolutely. I think that, for example, Black History Month, it's one of my favorite spaces to operate. I've led it at Instagram for a couple years. And now I've passed on to another team. We're all celebrating Black culture, right? So we end up doing things that are relatively similar. It doesn't have to be a fight or a competition. We have, for example, like partnering with businesses. I think when we say businesses also, we need to just not think about for profit. So a partnership with business, for example, is AfroPunk. AfroPunk is, you know, for profit. They throw concerts, Brooklyn, Atlanta. We sponsored that. We had workshops. Everybody's trying to get everyone to post about AfroPunk, but we have the same goal. So we decided to come together, host workshops in Atlanta and in New York, and encourage people to post on Instagram before they hit the festival and while they were at the festival. So we had gorgeous content coming out of that. That was in 2019, and it's still some people's profile pictures that I see floating around today. So that's an example of like, oh, same audience, same goal, but like, wait, this is super easy. It's a natural collaboration. Another is, this is more, I guess, like sort of like integration within actually like academia. So it was our first time spinning up a contest. Was able to lead this with Fadia Kader and Claudine and a bunch of amazing people who are at Instagram, to come up with a Melina Matsoukas sort of curated Reels challenge. So what we did is we partnered with Howard University, and we had 5 filmmakers make shorts on Reels, and afterward they turned them into long form IGTV. It was a really unexpected, I guess, kind of partnership or collaboration, because we'd never partnered with the university in that capacity. And then we also grabbed Melina. So now you got 3 partners at the table trying to figure out how to make it work. Everybody's trying to make money. Everybody's trying to get engagement. But at the end of the day, we focused on our core goal, which was to uplift those Black filmmakers and give them a shot. So I honestly think that there are no 2 companies, no 2 brands that couldn't partner. Miles earlier mentioned, is it True Tone?
Real Tone.
Real Tone, thank you. Miles mentioned Real Tone. I think there's some things Meta and Real Tone could do together that would help, you know, bring the world closer together. Even though, you know, we're competing, quote unquote, right companies, you're ultimately serving your consumers. So know that the consumer doesn't care how they get it. They don't care what logo's on it. They just want it. So if you can be a part of that, then why not partner?
No, I think that was key. Like you said, the consumer does not care. And they might even enjoy it more to see that these 2 brands are working together, right? And especially when, you know, we have to go there coming through that abundance mindset, there's enough for everybody. Even if we're talking to the same audiences anyway, why not do it together and have that same messaging? So I agree with that for sure. Joy, I know one of the things that you mentioned, and Fab has mentioned this too, original content. How can original content support brands and creators? So Joy, I'll start with you, and then maybe you can hand it over to Fab and we come around to Miles.
This is my favorite area. So I'm a comedy creator, as I mentioned. I was posting about 3 videos a week starting in 2020, and I had 6,000 followers at the time, reaching 30,000 people a month. I have over 150,000 followers between Instagram and TikTok, reaching 1 million people a month in such a short time. Why? Because of IP. Thank you. Because of IP. And it's just so funny because when you're creating funny characters, silly voices, you're reenacting scenarios from your life, you don't really think about them as IP. You don't think about that short moment of picking up your camera, adding an AR filter, and engaging with a storyline, adding voiceover. You don't think about that as IP, but it is. So what I've noticed as a creator is that growth and evolution for you, right? If you have, maybe you've been producing videos for years, evolution for you can look like partnering with brands to activate IP. If there are stories, if there are characters, there are through lines that you've begun to become, you know, noticed for, it's very trendy on Instagram and on short form video platforms to do a part 1, part 2, part 3, part 19, right? You start to see these trends. turn that into IP, create an original property around those characters, create a world around those characters, and then take it to a podcast network, take it to Blavity. I don't know if y'all look, but take it somewhere like that, right? You can launch a web series, you can launch a podcast, you can launch a reading time to kids at your local library. It really doesn't matter the format. But for me, I've recognized that almost nobody is saying no. I'm hitting up every Hollywood showrunner, every digital network, and talking about these stories and these characters that I've built. And again, like Fab said, the art of the deck, just learning how to transition those short form video moments into an IP pitch deck has been powerful. I've been able to sell IP already this year. My first year writing it, right, and already sold it to an African media company, and they're going to be activating it. So I've just been really, really glad to learn about that space and happy to share more. But I do think that that is the future for creators: is take your videos, enjoy them for a couple of years, develop that audience, and really test out different elements of the IP, then package and sell.
Yeah, for sure. And Fab, I'll hit it over to you. I know you are the director of originals here at Blavity. It is a main focal point for the company. So I'm gonna do a quick plug. If you have not already, make sure you tune into Asking for a Friend. Make sure you tune into What Are the Signs, talking about if you can guess people's zodiac sign. And I know Fab has a bunch of them in her back pocket as well. So Fab, I would love for you to also discuss the importance of original content and, you know, piggyback on what Joy said, and working with creators like to crimp up and create that if you don't have the joys in your company.
Yeah, for sure. So yay, asking for a friend. So original content, I think there's two parts to it that maybe the normal eye is just like, oh, this is just a show, but like this is like literally your direct route to getting data. And analyzing that data properly is going to tell you everything that you need to know. Now, there's also the part of making sure it gets to the audience that you want it to get to, which is another conversation. But once you do put that original content out, you can kind of like almost like robotically put a show together and that you know is going to do well. Like for us, like, you know, we have certain shows or podcasts on our channel, and we take the data and we're like, okay, cool. People are watching up until this point. Okay, they're dropping off after this point. Oh, there's a spike here. And we're able to be like, okay, people like us to just get into the show, like how Joy started off the conversation. We're right into it. We're, you know, everyone has a busy schedule, whatever. Then you have certain shows where it's like, you know, they want to kind of be massaged into it. And it's just like, all of this is strategy. And in addition to that, you're able to build a community around the shows as well. So like Joy mentioned, Looking for a Sign is a zodiac-based dating show. Zodiac is, you either love it or you hate it. I love it. So people like me, we're gonna tap into it. And then it also, like, original content is, I'm getting excited about it because it kind of encompasses everything that we've been talking about. Like, make the content. If they don't get it, they don't get it. People will get it. Don't worry about it. Just put it out there. You know what I mean? And then when you do it in a way where you're approaching something not necessarily specific to something that happens, it can live forever. Like, as long as the internet exists, it's going to be on there unless you take it off yourself. So there's so many different approaches. I think for us at Blavity Originals, we're really focused on like creating the content that people just want to see and creating content that people need. It's like, you know, you watch TV or you watch Netflix or streaming or, you know, IG Live, TikTok, whatever. Because you're either trying to escape or something, trying to get some information, or just trying to be entertained, or a version of all three of them. So we're kind of in that space where that's what we're trying to do. We want Black people to feel seen, heard, represented, and it doesn't mean we have a specific show for LGBT. It means that we're incorporating all of our audience in all of our shows. And that also speaks to just doing it year round versus like, oh, it's Black History Month, let's put on some shows. Like, no, we're talking about this shit, all year round. And that's like, you know, that's the approach. And that's like the authenticity behind original content, and also tapping into our community and our creators that we love and we want to, you know, put on a platform. that's my tangent.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Fab. I think like you hit all those points, right? Talking about one, going back to consistency, going about to talking to your Black audience, your LGBTQIA audience, year round, making them, okay, we don't need to have a specific show just about this. These should be characters or creators you work with. Miles, I would love to hear from you about, how does Google, work with creators? What do you guys do around original content that focuses on, belonging rather internally or externally?
Yeah, definitely. I think about this question around content and media at two different levels. I think being Google, one of our superpowers is data. And we think a lot about untold stories. Like what are the stories that are out there, but for historical reasons, like haven't gotten the shine that they deserve. And a lot of that is in the data. A couple of years back, we released this, one of our most successful campaigns that we released was our most searched campaign. And the insight was a lot of the most searched across categories, whether it's music or science or the arts, these were Black people, most searched globally in the world. And that became a pretty beautiful piece of creative work. And I think it was having that insight and being able to mine the data using things like Google Trends to understand that there are actually a lot of these stories. There are endless stories like that that aren't being told, and really try and elevate those. I think the other way that we think about this space, like Google, our goal is to be helpful, and we are often at our best when we're a platform for others, to elevate others' voices. And so we, for the past 5 years, have been working on making our own marketing more inclusive and helping the ad industry do the same. And so we released all of what we've learned about that, about how to do that, including audience insights. So ways to help people avoid common stereotypes that we see across all different groups of folks, whether that's Black people, people with disabilities, plus size people was one that we launched earlier this year. We shared all of that information with the ad industry, but really the creative industry as a whole, to help people, creators everywhere, to help the people who are in positions of power, create better work, create stories that better represent communities, that help communities feel positively and authentically represented. And so I think, playing in both of those spaces feels like how we can be most helpful. We can find the stories that aren't being told and elevate them ourselves, and we can offer tools at scale that help people everywhere just create better work.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that addition, Miles. We are coming close to the end of the conversation portion. Audience members, feel free to drop questions in the Q&A. Our lovely group of panelists will be answering a few at the end of the conversation. If we don't have any questions, I have a few more questions. If we don't have any questions from the audience, I have a few more we can talk through the panel before we wrap this up and let everybody get back to their day. So as people are dropping questions in the Q&A function, my next question, Joy, this will be a great one for you. How can, being yourself, having your own personal brand, and then also working at Instagram, how can companies, I guess it could be twofold, I'm going to ask all of the panelists. One, how can companies utilize their actual employees to show up as their authentic self, or, those who have their own personal brands, and tie that into their 9-to-5 while tying that into their passion? So can you speak to it from both sides, Joy? And I'm going to ask all the panelists that if you guys don't mind.
Absolutely. I'll speak about it from a creator employee perspective first, because I get this question a lot. I noticed. And so the first to me is like creating things that help you like balance and really separate. Sometimes it doesn't work out where I can meld the two. There are certain actions that I took, and I just drop a link to like where I spoke about it. But first is like not working on my full-time job outside of work hours. So as a creator, I was pouring all the goodness of my like talent, marketing, inclusion, smarts, everything into my job. And I had nothing left for me creatively at the end of the day. Reviewing thousands of ads, nothing left for me. So I just noticed that, hey, if it's 5, if it's 6, if it's 4 or 3, whatever I finish my work day, I'm done. And I'll take my tasks the next day, right? Because there's always another day for work. But that evening time, weekend time, morning time with family, with self, that's when I create. Next is I stopped commuting. So that's very practical. I often get, where did you find the time for? I stopped commuting. I got 25 hours back a week, and I used that to complete a Master of Science in Marketing program at Santa Clara University. So recent graduate. And to me, that was, thanks. To me, that was a huge, good use of time. Next is like paying professionals for their expertise. So like actually step outside of what you know how to do, what you have the time to do. Sometimes you know, but you don't have the time. So I pay people to edit. I pay them to creatively design, to brand, to close caption. You really can't do it all. Next is limiting your offerings. So if you're an employee creator, you can't be all things to all people. You need to pick 2, you need to pick 3, you need to pick 5. I just noticed that my offerings were everywhere. So I started to limit them, really just focus on voiceover, branded content / IP, and then, you know, other areas of creating. And then finally, just like play. Your creative job or whatever you engage in outside of work. If work is work for you, you really need that to be play. So you don't need to monetize all your hobbies. If woodworking is, you know, energizing, but you don't want to sell it, don't sell it. Okay, don't do that. Don't ruin your hobby. That's for me from a creator perspective, how I balance both. I get help, I play, I stop commuting, I stay inside, and that's what helps me create. How employees can leverage creators, right? I've become an asset to Instagram and Meta in such a way because I'm a spokesperson. I'm an actual real cheerleader for the brand because I believe in it. The product has fueled my creation. So empower your employees with knowledge about the product. And I'm not talking about like people, oh, do you have like advanced secret insights on reels that help you? No, I don't. But teach your employees the same best practices that you give to partners, right? To celebrities, to these brands, give them to your employees too at the same time. Let them have access. Miles talked about democratizing the access. Democratize the access inside the company so that your employees can be your biggest advocates, your power users, as well as your actual consumers. That's one thing that Meta does incredibly well, is letting me know when, you know, new products are launching, and I can talk to different teams. And then when they're out, I can use them as a creator. I think next is like thinking about conferences, events, podcasts, awards. If you have employees who talk a little too much, put them on stage, put them on a microphone, right? Get them talking and then kind of curate and drive that. We don't need to go outside for every skill we have, be it photography, event curation. Start to bring some of these things in-house and say, okay, like you could just start with a general poll. What does anyone have like a passion to do around our brand, right? Poll your company. If it's startup, if it's large, anyone want to do voice acting? Anyone want to be on stage for us? At Instagram for Business, at Creators, at Editorial. We have all these series, and our employees, you'll notice, host all of our live streams. So Andrew Rico, who's a partner manager, hosts at Creators Star Search every week. You don't need to go outside for these things. It's cost effective, and it keeps us, you know, engaged in the company and in the brand. I hope that helps and is clear.
Yes, that helps a lot. Thank you for sharing that. Miles, Fab, do you have anything to add about how brands can, you know, utilize the talent that they have in-house? I know at Blavity, we have a lot of people with multiple passions, side hustles, careers, and, you know, being able to garnish that. So Fab, I'll start with you and then we can kick it over to Miles.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Like of all the places I've worked, and I've worked a handful, I think Blavity does a really great job of like, yeah, and shout out to Kadeem as well. Like our Slack channel, be lit. It's lit right now. And everyone there. And then so with Blavity Originals, we also have an initiative to call out pitch me process. So basically like every quarter I'll send out an email and encouraging people to kind of submit their ideas, set up a calendar time where people can kind of just like schedule time with me, even if they don't have like the full idea, if they want to talk through it, give feedback. And you know, our next one is coming up actually next month within a few weeks, so look out for that for the Blavity crew. But yeah, and really just dive into like where people's minds are at, encourage them and even like vet talent. So like if we do have a show, we are thinking about like, okay, do we have anybody that works here already internally that we can tap into that it makes sense, you know what I mean? So it's something that my team, Jermaine and Adam, are all like, you know, it's an initiative of ours and we're keeping it going. I also just started 3 months ago, so bear with me if you're like, you didn't respond to my, just give me a second. So, but yeah, it's definitely something that us are keeping in mind, and it is something that we want to do and keep going with.
Yeah, and you know, I can chime in on our side. It's something that I think about a lot and that really informs our work around belonging is that I would say that most companies probably use about 30% of the talent that they have. And that's because they, you know, they're hiring in amazing, multifaceted, dynamic, creative people who probably have, you know, immense interests and talent and things that they would love to explore. And they're not creating environments where people are bringing that with them to work, where people feel like there's a place for that in their work, where they feel like, you know, maybe the past experiences, especially if they're underrepresented in their company, where they feel like their experiences are valid, the things, their interests are valid and would be celebrated in the workplace. And again, that means that you're missing out, you end up missing out on the next wave of innovation. You end up missing out on the next wave of creative ideas, and you keep doing things the way that you've always done things. And so I think the biggest thing that brands should think about is, how are you creating an environment where people really feel a sense of belonging, where people really feel like they can bring all of themselves to work, and they should, and they're encouraged to do that. And that work is not the individual's responsibility, it's the company's responsibility. And it has to be at all levels. It has to come from leadership, but just as importantly, all managers need to be focused on that, and they need to be actively doing the work to create that environment. I think one of the big benefits that we've had through the pandemic is that so many of the things in terms of creating an environment where, you know, there was a decent sense of camaraderie and teamwork that we got for free in person, when everyone was in person, like all the small talk, all of those things that we got for free and that worked to a certain extent, we lost. And I think the teams that were successful through this, you know, the challenging last 2 years that we have, are the ones who have been deliberate, who have said, all right, how do we build consistent practices that allow us to still feel like a team, that invite everyone in? And those practices are ones that every team, I think, should adopt. And there's nothing holding, I think, any brand from doing that work today.
Thank you, Miles. I think you hit it on the head. It is, I think, you know, in the past, especially, like, I can speak for my parents, we weren't told to bring our whole selves to work. I don't think I started bringing my whole self to work probably, you know, a job or two before Blavity, you know, but a lot of times, you know, as an employee, we weren't taught that. We weren't taught that you can talk about your other careers and your passions. So if companies are using that opportunity to get to learn the multifacetedness of your employees, it one taps into the belonging, but everybody wants a nice bottom line. So doing these things, being consistent across the calendar year, making sure that you engage your employees and so they can feel like they can bring their authentic self, that we talked about that in our last webinar, you know, how to recruit Gen Z talent, you know, making it so they can bring their full selves, that's going to extend the time that they'll be at your company as well. So I think all of those things are really key in putting that onus on the companies to create safe spaces so people can bring every part of themselves to the organization, and then it will be mutually beneficial for both people, for the company and the employee. So I think everyone hit that perfectly. Thank you for sharing all of those perspectives. I'm checking the chat right now. I see one question from Leela. Joy, if you want to take that. If there's any other questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A or the chat. So Joy, I'll let you respond to Leela.
Yep. Leela's question is, which key features in the Instagram app for business profiles are most impactful for tracking analytics for engagement and or driving engagement? Y'all want the secret sauce. I love this question. Okay, Instagram for Business, at Instagram for Business is a great account to follow. At Creators is another great account to follow. It's not created at businesses, but creators are businesses. And if you're a business, you want to be creator. So at Instagram for Business, at Creators, and at Meta Elevate. Elevate was started by Black and Latinx folks inside to empower Black and Latin small businesses, small and medium businesses, outside of Meta with Meta tools. If anybody wants Elevate introductions, I got you. But those are 3 accounts to follow. They produce a lot of regular content. My features that I'll promote or share, one, I think, is just general analytics. When you're looking to determine if something is successful, stop looking at likes, look at comments qualitatively, as I mentioned, but the real metrics that you want to look at as a business are saves and shares. Did somebody save this and indicate that, oh, this product is so good or this service is so good that I intend to use it later? That is such an indication of whether or not they want to come back to you or they're not ready for you right now, right? So saves. Next is shares. Was it important enough to send to somebody? A share is such a strong signal within the Instagram algorithm. It's stronger than a like. It's almost stronger than a comment because it's keeping, right, the ecosystem of like algorithmically recommended content sort of like up and increased. So make sure that you're generating content that promotes saves and shares. Another is, someone says drop those in the chat. I will. Another is saved replies. So as you're talking about engagement, I say respond to all comments, from consumers if you can underneath. You can make a whole brand out of that, as many have, but saved replies. So if you're like, you know what, I'm not the snappy, quirky social media manager who has something new to say to every single person underneath my post, or you don't have time for that, that's fine. You can preload like 10 to 15 saved replies to frequently asked business questions, or even just encouragement. Every single time you tag Nordstrom Rack, they have a save reply that's going to hit you like, thank you, Matt. That ain't Matt. They got a save reply, but it works and it makes me feel good. Like, oh, Matt saw it. And the next time it's like, you look great, Jenny. Oh, thanks, Jenny. So saved replies. And then again, checking your analytics. I will drop in those editorial accounts to follow.
Perfect. Thanks, Joy. And while we still have you, let's do, as we're wrapping up the conversation, we didn't have any more question and answers. I want each panelist to give me a key that you want the audience to walk away with. A key, a gem, a little knowledge. It could be something that you shared or another panelist. Joy, we can hand it over to you and then you can pass it along.
Wow. This is a lot of pressure. I think one key, as we're talking about, sorry, I'm not a serious person. One key to take away for authenticity is, I think, to take risks. So I'm actually going to take it from what Miles shared with us earlier. If you're not taking risks as a brand, you're going to become obsolete. It's something we struggle with. It's something I struggle with as a creator. We want to stay in what has worked before. And especially when you're in a matrix organization, it's really easy to lean on what has worked before, but the rules are changing every single day. So don't be afraid to greenlight that thing that was a little bit provocative, or that phrase within the, not again, not going against marketing inclusion, but that phrase that you don't understand but means something to a community. Don't be afraid to greenlight that, and just take another risk that you wouldn't normally take, so that you get greater rewards.
Thank you, Joy. And I do have to add, if you don't know the term, don't know how to use the term, ask. Okay, if it's a jacket, it can't give jacket. Sorry.
No, it's giving sleeve.
Fab, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Okay, my I guess my last takeaway or gift is stop being reactionary. Like, take your time, try to be more proactive. I think people want to be the first to react or the first to say something or the loudest, and then they'll be wrong. So if you're staying ahead of or forecasting or like really thinking about development, then you're not going to get caught up looking crazy to be completely blunt. So yeah, be proactive, not reactive. That's it.
Thanks, Fab. Miles?
Yeah, I mean, just to continue beating the same drum, I've been beating this entire time. Think holistically. It can't just be words, like it can't just be in your marketing. If you want to be authentic, you have to look at every part of your business. If you want to authentically, reach and serve Black communities, then you need to look at your workforce. You need to look at the environment that you're creating for the people in your workforce. You need to look at the products that you're building. Like, are they actually meeting people's needs? And then, of course, yes, you need your marketing to be inclusive as well. You need to be partnering with the right organizations. You need to be partnering with creators and handing over the keys and allowing, them to do what feels authentic for them, to reach their audiences, because that's what you're trying to do. But you have to look at the whole thing and recognize that takes time. And so you're not going to make that shift overnight, but if you invest and stick with it and stay consistent, then you'll get there, and you'll get to a much stronger place than you ever could have if you just looked at one piece.
Perfect, Miles. Thank you so much for wrapping us up. Miles, thank you. Fab, thank you. Joy, thank you so much for all of the knowledge and the gems that you guys shared, for your time to give our audience all of these great takeaways as they move into their days and as they create authentic collaboration. So thank you all so much. We will be sharing the playback in the next few days. So have a wonderful week. Have a great long weekend, and we will see you next time. Bye.